All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of Reactionary Opinions, the most based and reactionary show on the African continent. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Clown World News Network. This is where we focus on the most ridiculous articles and headlines from all around the world. Today in the news, not everyone who goes to restaurants drinks alcohol, says Dlamini Zuma. SARS seeking to criminalize taxpayers' application mistakes. That's going to be fun. And of course, Ramaphosa orders PPE fraud probe. The corruptors are going to be investigating the corruption. It just can't get any more amusing than that. Russell the Based, how are you doing there?
Good. Happy it's Friday, and we'll try and laugh at some clown news. Try and get some sort of humor out of it.
Yeah, look, I mean, don't get us wrong. We do not find these articles to be amusing in the least. Okay, the only thing that we find amusing is the fact that they're actually news articles, and and that government officials and people in very high positions, the highest positions in the country, are anyway. So let's move on to our first article for the day. Not everyone who goes to restaurants drinks alcohol. Yeah, that's what Dlamini Zuma says. So let me just read you parts of the article. Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma has disputed a claim by a group of restaurants that people are not frequenting restaurants solely because no alcohol can be sold with meals. She said restaurant groups have not considered that there are risks associated with frequenting public places during the COVID-19 pandemic, especially if you are zolling. Remember. Goodness me. In a 103-page affidavit submitted to the Western Cape High Court, I wonder if she.
Now, I can tell you. You know what that is. That is just you know how these guys answer questions. Usually, it's just by blurting out a whole lot of rhetoric. That's how they answer questions, and they think you're going to be impressed by it and shut up. That is how these politicians in South Africa operate.
Yeah, it's exactly that. So it's probably a whole bunch of we are doing this for the greater good, our people, and all that other nonsense. So, this is brilliant over here. Oh, don't you just love it when our politicians treat us like children? So she said over here, and this is the crux of this whole entire article. She said it was patronizing for the group of restaurants to assume that everyone who visits restaurants wants alcohol, given that only 31% of people in the country consume alcohol. I mean, now we need to just sort of sit here and say, okay, well, it's patronizing. Don't patronize the politicians, Sit down, children, shut up and know your place. I cannot. It's so annoying. Anyway, so I can't deal with it.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, the thing is, I mean, at a restaurant, I mean, for goodness sakes, I don't understand. Also, I mean, the thing is, there was a highly editorial, in an editorial, these guys from the South African Medical Research Council wrote an article. Let me just see if I can find it. Where they basically these guys actually basically insulted the whole of South Africa here.
Who insulted?
These so-called experts from the Medical Research Council, they're basically shilling for the government.
Oh yes, I remember that article. I think you sent it to me this morning or something. But while
Yeah.
you, yeah, while you thinking about, or while you searching for that article, um, look, I'm no, restaurant industry specialist and that sort of thing. I did as a youngster work for many years as a waiter in restaurants and stuff, but I can tell you that a large portion of restaurants' revenue and pool for clients or pool for patrons is 100% because of or from liquor. They make a lot of money on liquor.
Well, the
And
margins on liquor, the liquor is where the margins are.
Mhm.
That's where the margins are.
Exactly.
You're getting about between a 45 and 60% margin on alcohol related products.
Yes, and
Look, put it this way.
these.
Yeah, this is the article. Opinion. We are a nation of drinkers, and that has to stop.
Yes,
It
children,
says here,
stop your nasty
yes.
habits.
It says here, among the devastating epidemics the country faces, South Africa also has an injury epidemic, which places an enormous burden on our health system and society at large, let alone those injured and those near to them. Blah, 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 blah. It has become patently obvious. Listen to the language here. Patently obvious.
Yeah, it's so
From both
blatant.
that data on trauma presentations and non-natural deaths following the imposition of the alcohol ban sales, along with other measures at the start of level 5 lockdown in South Africa, and when the ban was lifted on 1 June again, reimposed on 13 July together with a 9 p.m. curfew. The curfew has since been changed. To prevent and control this epidemic, our government and the liquor industry to play ball. It cannot be business as usual. Who are these condescending busybodies?
Yeah, that was definitely a
trauma presentations that they're saying that they dropped dramatically. It says, although only 43% of adult men in our country drink, about 1 in 5 women and about 1 in 5 consumption per drink is so high that the per capita consumption, which includes non-drinkers, is higher than most other countries. Okay, all right. Let's just have a look here. I'm trying to think of some other gems that I read over here as well.
Yeah, but Russell, while you're looking for other gems over there, that's the whole thing is there are a lot of people. South Africa, there's a lot of drinkers in South Africa, heavy drinkers. Okay, make no mistake. Okay, but the point of the matter is that your government is supposed to treat you as an adult or a law-abiding citizen or whatever it is. So if I want to have some wine in the evening, whether it be at a restaurant or whether it be in my home, look, I don't care what the government thinks. I really don't care. And I don't care what these busybody doctors think either. I'm going to have a drink.
These are the guys from it's this Glenda Gray, Charles Perry, and Richard Matsopoulos. They're from the South African Medical Research Council. All right. And it says here, the alcohol industry must put people before profits and stop perpetuating harmful drinking patterns. Bro, this is a 100% shill article for the government.
Oh, Russell, wait, bro. You say her name is Glenda Gray, right?
Glenda Gray, yeah. Who is she?
Oh, she has literally the actual Karen haircut, bro. She is a Karen through and through.
But listen, yeah, all right. Look, they say here's the other thing, all right.
She is Karen. Wait.
And they basically saying
she's literally Karen, bro.
Oh,
Karen or whatever.
Yeah, look at that.
See,
she looks like a busybody. I can see it.
She looks like she wants to tell you how to do everything, Russell. So careful. You're careful.
Yeah, watch out for her. Eh? Yeah. Well, look, I mean, the thing is, they're saying here basically that They basically blame. It says here, they get on. Look, I can understand car accidents, yeah, on weekends, alcohol related, yeah, that's true. But I mean, the thing is, they're talking here about. Just have a look. They talk about gender-based violence, dude. Gender-based violence doesn't happen because of alcohol. Gender-based violence was around a law. You can say does it make it worse? I actually don't think so. I actually don't think so.
Look, Russell, I think that it might. Okay, it very well might. But here's the thing: here's the point. Someone that is a abusive drunk, okay, which is the type of person that's going to go and beat on their wife, has to be sort of an abusive drunk. If someone is going to be an abusive drunk, they are no doubt. I mean, if they're bad when they're drunk, okay, just imagine when that person is sober and can't find booze, or spends that money on booze instead of feeding his family.
Exactly. When the lockdown was out, the lockdown didn't stop gender-based violence. Nope. The actual the calls to they've got these call centers. The call centers went off the charts, and they didn't have access to alcohol.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they were stuck in mainly because they were stuck in their people were spouses that were abusing where one spouse was abusing the other.
Stuck in the house.
They were stuck in the house 24/7. That's why there was the alcohol ban didn't stop gender-based violence. So to bring in the idea that we're doing it for gender-based violence is disingenuous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think
I just want to get to the comments quick. How's it, Beth? She says, evening McLaren's. She says, that's a made-up ministry if I've ever heard one. Cogta. So that's obviously what's it? What's her position? It's the cooperative governance.
Governance and traditional affairs.
Horrible. Anyway, should we move on to the next article, Russell?
Yeah, no, for sure.
This is your one. You want to read through the thing? I did send you the link on your email.
Yeah, I've got it here.
Okay. So
it says here. It says here. This is dated the 4th of August, a few days ago. SARS seeking to criminalize taxpayers' application mistakes. Already, that doesn't make any sense. I don't even need to read further. You're going to criminalize a clerical error, basically. All right.
Yeah, and it's not even that title is not even nuanced or anything. It's legitimately they want to. If you make a mistake, they want to criminalize it on your returns. If you make a mistake an error on your tax returns, criminal.
Yeah. Here, look. It says here. So basically, if SARS decides whether an action or omission was willfully, if SARS decides, and is therefore criminal, why should it waste time in trying to determine this? So they don't want to waste research on proving anything. So the comment by an attorney from Bowman's, Patricia Williams, she explains here. She says SARS wants to remove the requirement that relevant action must have been done willfully. Okay. This removes the requirement of criminal intent before the action is considered a crime. So, you can't. In terms of basics of my understanding of criminal law, okay, that you have to prove a willful intent or a willful action. You know what I mean? To be able to be charged with something. Okay. And she says here, what else she says here? She says Criminal intent already encompassed dolus eventuals. That is, foreseeing the reasonable possibility of an outcome and reconciling yourself to that. Okay. In the circumstances, gross negligence would already arguably meet the standard of something willfully done. What SARS is seeking to do is to criminalize mistakes. Okay. Yeah. So even at the same time, there's provisions. I know. Look, in case anybody didn't know, I am a tax practitioner. In case anybody didn't know. And the Tax Administration Act already gives SARS incredible amount of powers with regards to you actually making mistakes or underreporting or undeclaring things and all that sort of thing. They've got a framework in place already. Okay, so basically they've got the different stages of negligence, gross negligence, willful. I can't remember the whole breakdown of what the stages of the Tax Administration Act. I'll actually just check here quickly. I think I've got it here. Actually, at my desk.
So basically, Russell, willful negligence is essentially basically if you're trying to defraud SARS and you frame it as an error, basically, right?
Okay. Already they've got a penalty scheme already. Okay, already in place in the Tax Administration Act. Now, basically, they've got substantial understatement, reasonable care not taken in completing a return, no grounds for taking a tax position, impermissible avoidance agreement, gross negligence, and intentional tax evasion, which is the one that they can prove. That basically, gross negligence, it's probably 50-50 on that one, but most of the errors are not criminal offenses that you make according to the Tax Administration Act already. They've clearly defined it already. Okay, there's no need for them to go any further. Okay, I'm trying to see here.
Russell, what confuses me about this whole thing is how on earth are they going to go about administering this? I mean, there must be, at least, 100,000, for example, errors made every year in a tax season. How are they going to now administer, laying criminal charges against all these people that have made errors in their returns?
Yeah, well, look, this is the thing. Let's turn back the clock 20 odd years. Okay, when basically SARS used to take a hard line position against sort of, strangely enough, how can I put it, in the early 2000s, for instance. Okay, SARS took a soft position, all right, and it actually worked. It got people to come to SARS and actually declare their income, become part of the system, and continue paying their taxes. It actually brought taxpayers in to contribute their taxes because there was an open door. Okay, guys, come through. There's there might be some penalties and that sort of thing, but you won't be a criminal type. You know what I mean? There were amnesties going back in the early 2000s. There were all sorts of things. There was positive things, back in the day. But progressively over the last, I would say, maybe 5 years or so, there's a lot of more agitation to go back to the hard line approach, which is actually an incorrect way. You in the long run, you're defeating the object. All right. Rather get people in willingly. All right. Because it's going to take time, effort, and energy to go out and find the people and then criminalize them and then raise assessments and then rather get people to come to you. You'll be far more successful in collecting more taxes that way. You get what I'm saying? That was the philosophy in the early 2000s. And then later on, once everybody was in the system, they brought out this Tax Administration Act in about 2012. I think it was, more or less. That's when it came into effect. And all these new things came in, which basically, there's nothing wrong with the Tax Administration Act other than it formalized a lot of the processes that SARS was already doing. So it put it into a legal framework. All right. So it just made it, they basically said, okay, we're already approaching our tax administration like this. Let's put it into a formal tax law, and we'll administrate it legally through that system. Okay, great. But now, I mean, reading some of these comments here, but now what happens is when you do this, you already get taxpayers and good people's hair up because they're too scared to make a mistake. They might not just do anything. They don't know what to do. You know what I mean? When you threaten people like this, you actually it's self-defeating. Okay. In the draft. Actually, has an extract here. In the draft memorandum on the objects of the Tax Administration Laws Amendment Bill, SARS reasons that using the term willfully in respect of a statutory crime is not correct. And that it is not possible to willfully neglect something. It is not. And that it is not possible to willfully neglect something, and that failing to do something required by the Act could be problematic. It's a bit confusing, that, but anyway. And then this lady, Williams, that same lady, says this is patently wrong. One can purposely fail to submit one's tax return or purposely fail to pay one's taxes. This looks like SARS is misstating the position in order to make the proposed unfair amendment seem more reasonable. Yeah. So I mean, let's just look at it. Looking at it broadly, it really is silly. It really is it really is silly and unnecessary. Failing to. They want to criminalize things like, it says the amendment now changes an error that can be made by anyone into a criminal act, such as the failure to notify SARS of a postal address change, a physical address change, banking details change. So that
is criminal now.
Theoretically.
Good Lord, that is full blown authoritarianism right there. But anyway,
it's not authoritarianism, it's totalitarianism.
Totalitarianism, yeah. So what struck me when I read that article, even just the headline, was the fact that SARS is now going to criminalize mistakes made by your average Joe, submitting his tax returns. They're going to criminalize that guy or criminalize that error or whatever it is. But they're free to make as many errors as they want. And me having my fair share of issues with SARS in the past and all of that, they make a lot of mistakes as well. And
so listen to this. I was at a client this afternoon, and he told me like a couple of years ago that without an actual judgment, he did owe SARS the money, but without a judgment and a court order of sorts, all right, SARS instructed the bank to extract money from his bank account, all right. When he phoned the bank, all right, they actually wouldn't tell him who took the money out of his bank account. Listen to this. This is what my client. These are the words from my client. So it's not, this is his words. He said that basically the bank actually told him. I don't know. Look, like I said, this is what the client says. That SARS told the bank not to tell him that SARS had taken it was them that took the money. So they out of the bank. I'm being absolutely, this is this type of thing. So they can overstep the laws of due process and what have you, at will. You know what I mean? So it really is. Yeah. Look, like I say, the scary thing is, the scary thing is that it's like it's so. That's what makes it so amusing, is that they pass off these laws and regulations and that sort of thing. It's the same with this and the COVID stuff and all these regulations, thinking that they are they are real sociopaths, because they obviously don't think that everybody else sees that they are lying through their teeth or being ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's almost like an emperor has no clothes sort of situation. You know, these guys walk around like the emperor with no clothes on and thinking they're amazing. You know, look at my amazing work that I'm doing. You know, they really, and I think this is what the clown world story comes into it. I think these guys actually, they actually believe in their own lies and nonsense. I think they really believe in it.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt.
I don't even think it's, and that's the funny part. I don't even think they think they're doing anything outrageous. They think they're doing something legit and honorable.
I don't think they think they're doing something legit and honorable. I think they think that they actually think they're doing, you know, God's work or whatever. They are.
Yeah.
They are legitimately. Yeah, they are literally, you know, God ordained, and they are doing, you know, all the good work. You know, I honestly believe that that's what these politicians and sociopaths out there believe. Bar says hi guys, hi Bar. Yeah, sorry, Russell.
But it is quite amusing, you know, that these guys can, you know, brazenly just throw stuff at the people like this, you know. And it's going to be very interesting.
Everyone's just going to go like, "Thanks, guys," you know, "Thank you."
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, the thing is, if something comes up like this, if there's something like this goes through, this will end my tax practitioner career.
Well, partly because you'd be too scared to do anything in case you become a criminal, I guess.
Look, like I say, there could be misquotes and what have you in here, but I'll follow the story and see what happens, or I'll maybe even go and have a look at this actual bill so that maybe I can get a picture myself. I haven't actually looked at it. I've just read this article. But yeah, if it is the way this article describes it, it will be the end of my tax practitioner career.
You'll have to you'll have to go and move into the mountains like the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, and just like, you've got the beard to pull it off, you know.
I'm going to become the Unabomber, you know. I'll come up with some, or look, it's not to say that I can't practice as an accountant. We don't just do tax. We do other things as well. But all my tax revenues and that sort of thing will be gone. You know
what you can do, Russell. You know what you can do? You can become the tax bomber. So what you'll do is you like submit tax returns to SARS, but everything's wrong. So you're like an outright criminal, bro. You submit the tax return, it gets to the office, they open it, and it's like papers falling out and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, another criminal!" Oh, you know. And you're in the bush, in the mountains and stuff, and they can't find out who's sending these criminal tax returns. You know.
Well, put it this way. You see, I will perform schedules and calculations and that sort of thing, but I will not be submitting filing any returns whatsoever on SARS e-filing in the future. There will be no. I will be resigning from my.
If this is the case, if this amendment is passed,
yes. If it is as bad as this, actually, or if the media here is hyping it up a bit, if it is as bad as this, and the way they describe it, yeah, I will be gone.
So should we jump?
That part of my profession will be gone.
Yeah. Anyway, Dad says, Russell, go make some moonshine. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah, make some moonshine. We'll become bootleggers. Anyway,
There's less chance of being a criminal there.
well, yeah. Well, now with us living through a legitimate prohibition, you know, I never thought I'd see the day that buying wine like this would be illegal. Illegal. I mean, illegal. Can you believe it? But it tastes so good. Anyway, what, Russell?
It's just basically if they keep it illegal for long enough, we'll just create a good solid underground markets where there won't be any excise and sin taxes, and booze will be cheaper.
Yeah, it's great. Well, it won't, I don't think it'll be cheaper. It won't necessarily be cheaper, but you know, it doesn't matter.
50%, 50% of the of a price of a 60% to 60% of a price of bottle of whiskey is taxes.
Okay, but we'd have to create a market big enough to sustain lower prices, because why am I paying large amounts of money for wine now?
Yeah, well, look, but like I say, in time it will get cheaper because people will the market will get stronger as the demand increases.
Yeah, we'd have to create a big enough market and stuff. But anyway, I was having an interesting chat with Pa today about the restaurants and stuff, and he was like, what is the solution? What are the restaurants supposed to do? Like, is it you know? And I said, well, you know, this is again back to Zuma's story and stuff. I said, just ignore the government. Just, if you're a restaurant owner or if you have a restaurant, sell booze. Simple.
Yeah, well, look, I went to a restaurant over this last weekend on Saturday. They were having beers. We had beers. We had everything. You know, anything you want there. Great,
amazing,
perfect.
fantastic.
You know,
yeah.
And I was
because
speaking to and I was speaking to I was speaking to my training partner this week. He said that you can still go to places here on our beachfront, and they're serving flat out alcohol.
Good.
You know, I said, "Oh, that's great news." I said that's great news. I'm so proud of them. Well done.
But something that Dad brought up as well. He says to me, "Well, what happens when the booze runs out?" And I'm like, "Do you think SAB is like the only people that make booze in South Africa?" And I'm like, "Yes. You know how many microbreweries there are? You know how many people there are that make their own, small companies that make and brew their own gin, whiskey, vodka, tequila, all of these sort of things. There's tons of them. So restaurant owners, that contract that you have with SAB, cancel it, throw it in the dustbin, tear it up for all I care. Start supporting the smaller businesses, the microbreweries, those guys that are making gin, those guys that are making these other things. Do that, and that's how you win this thing. Okay, just, you know what? This is the point. Okay, if the government had a law that was reasonable. Now, I'm not an anarchist or a libertarian or whatever. If the government had a rule that was reasonable, and but they weren't. But okay, let's face it. This alcohol thing is unreasonable. Okay, and they are literally taking the food out of people's mouths. Okay, let's face it. That's what they're doing by banning alcohol and putting all these businesses completely out of business. And I want to talk about something else as well, specifically about these businesses and stuff. But they literally are starving people to death, okay, because these people cannot feed their families, okay? Ignore them. Just ignore them. Don't listen to them. End of story. It's your right to be able to feed your family and be able to earn a living, okay? Screw the government. Leave them. Ignore them completely.
Well, I mean, the thing is, in our area, Scott, the beachfront here, officially on level 3, you're still not allowed on the beaches. The beaches were packed over this last weekend.
Packed, bro. Packed. Oaks don't care anymore.
Oaks don't care. Oaks are surfing and all sorts of things. Oaks don't care anymore.
What are they going to send? They're going to send the all 6,000 cops in the entire of Cape Town or something to come and arrest the Oaks. I mean, come on, guys. Let's not be stupid now. Just do what you need to do, okay? Sell your booze, open your restaurant, do what you need to do. Sure, within all reason and stuff, have whatever precautions need to be done, hand sanitizers, masks, or whatever needs to be done, fine. But sell your booze. Now, Russell, something else that I wanted to mention specifically about these businesses going out of business. I was chatting to a client the other day, and this is a client that has a business in the catering industry, but a sort of manufacturing catering equipment and stuff. And he's had the business for 20 years, dedicated 20 years of his life to it. It's all he knows, bro. That's all this oak knows is how to. He's run the business for 20 years, but he's got about 10 years other experience over and above that. So 30 years combined. It's all he knows, bro. It's literally all this oak knows is the catering industry and that sort of thing. 20-year business. Closed his doors last week. Okay. Lost millions and millions. Okay. Business completely down the drain now. Okay. Because he's had to close his doors for 4 or 5 months completely. I mean, no business can do that. So business is closed down, and he says to me, it's not that bad that I lost that money. As a business owner or an entrepreneur and stuff, you always hold that risk of losing money, okay, or losing your business. This is the risk that you run as a business owner. He says to me, the most difficult part for him is now, as it sits right now, he can't do anything. He can't go out there and now go and restart another business or go and try to do something else. Because remember, all he knows is this industry. Now he can't do it. He can't. I mean, this oak literally has to go and, I don't know, chop wood or something for a living now. Can you believe it? Because he cannot do anything now. He's held back by these stupid government regulations. Anyway, Tiens Rue, how's it? Good evening, gentlemen. What does Tiens says? American prohibition like we didn't learn. Yeah, exactly. He says they probably will arrest us and not criminals. Correct. They're going to go out and arrest those pesky people filing tax returns. Filing tax returns. Anyway, are we going to get to the corruptor in chief over here, Russell? The one who is ordering a PPE fraud probe. This is hilarious. So our esteemed our esteemed president has now ordered a PPE fraud probe. So apparently the great Cyril Ramaphosa is going to now crack down on corruption. Now that in itself, if you had to say that at a stand-up comedy club, you should get like a roaring applause and a massive burst of laughter, because it is incredibly laughable that you have the actual head of the most corrupt organization in the entire world, pretty much at this stage, saying they're going to crack down on corruption. And again, this also ties in, Russell, with them being absolute sociopaths and maniacs, because they legitimately think that this is one of those, that Mexican guy that
Yes, yeah.
It's one of those moments, he tells them they're going to crack down on corruption. One of those,
Yeah, well, look, I mean, It just, like I say, I mean, these guys are complete sociopaths. They really believe in it. They really rate themselves. I actually believe Ramaphosa and company think they've done enough to appease the IMF here. I think they really believe it. I think they are so in love with themselves. NDZ and
But
Mkhize,
Russell,
that's another. All these
this
guys, they're so in
IMF
love with themselves.
this IMF loan and stuff, that was one of the what did they call them? They called it something like a fast track loan or something like that. Something like that. I'm probably messing up the wording and stuff, but essentially what it is that there weren't too many terms applied to it. Basically.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I mean, I think about the only sort of term applied to it was that it must be used for COVID relief. And
yes.
And if it's not used for COVID relief, it's not used for COVID relief. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying?
I mean, the thing is, the IMF should understand that the ANC has very, very unique ideas of what COVID relief is. This is the whole thing. They can.
Oh, that's probably why that's why there's this probe into corruption into PPE, because they want to show that I don't really know the whole terms of the IMF loan and blah 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 blah, but I would suspect at the very least the terms are that the funds get used for the purposes of what it was intended for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And if you've got corruption scandals,
yeah, sorry.
And if you've got corruption scandals around the COVID procurement for PPE equipment and building of hospitals and health centers and all that sort of thing, if you've got massive corruption around that, that's it, and that's why they need to seem to be doing something, even if that something is pathetic.
Yeah. Anyway, so the comment section just lit up because I think we got a couple of oaks that just came over now from guys in the comment section. Just answer me this: Did the Colonel just finish with Steve now? He must have been on with him for over 2 hours then, because I think the stream
I've just seen. I look here. Special feature stream with Steve Hofmeyr. It's 2 hours 17 minutes.
Goodness me, that must mean a really good stream. Steve must have been on a pluck. That's why I thought like doing it at 8 o'clock would be safe, because I know a lot of our listeners are oaks that listen to Chris's shows and stuff. But yeah, the right Reverend
and I think it's one of Chris's best ever. It finished 18 minutes ago, and it had so far, what I can see, he had 2,500 views.
Jeez, like that's massive. So he must have had quite a few viewers. Guys, how much? Just answer me let me know in the comment section how many people were listening, or watching live. It must have been over 1,000 then, probably.
Yeah, quite easily.
At least. That's awesome. Massive. Good job, old Chris. I wish we had 1,000. We've got a whopping 5 people watching. Doesn't matter. We'll get there eventually. Yeah, so let's just run off into the comments section here, Russell. Yeah, there, Right Reverend Rawhide says, yeah, I just came over from Chris and Steve. Tian says Steve was good. And then the Right Reverend Rawhide says Steve is always awesome. And yeah, so it was pretty good. So Pa says, yep, just finished. It was great. Check. Did you see, Russell? Did you see Pa put a Rhodesian flag in his profile picture? It was classic.
I see that.
So Tian says that I think it was about 599 people watching. Well, that's still very good. I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most that he's ever had. That's why he's probably capitalizing on it. Well done there, Chris. Good job. Yeah, Reverend Rawhide. Channel bigging up now. Keep it up. Yeah, we will always keep it up. The nice thing about what myself and Russell and Dylan do is that we like doing these sort of things. We like having these talks, and yeah, so we really, really do enjoy it. So back to old Squirrel Ramaphosa over here. I just don't. I cannot understand how. I mean, how much has actually been loaned to South Africa now over the last? I mean, it must be. I mean, it must be.
It's in rands. It's about 70 billion.
But what happened? What about the 500 billion one?
That was an internal. That was an internal funds made available either through borrowing from internally within South African markets, or making the money available from the existing budget, the 500 billion. I don't know how much of that has actually been spent or what's happening there, or I actually don't know.
So wasn't the IMF loan 70 billion rand?
Billion rand, yeah.
So it must be. I mean, loans all across the board. It must be more than. I mean, there must be close to what 150 billion rand in total.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Possibly. Then there were also money from other. There was money from the US. There was money from a few other places. Yeah, probably up around 100 billion rand. Yeah.
Reverend Rawhide says Theresa May gave him 50 million Brit tax money before she split. Oh, that must have been quite a while ago then.
Yeah, that was about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, yeah.
So she gave him, by him, do you mean Squirrel? Yeah, I guess that's contributing to his billionaire status, because, you know, guys, he's an entrepreneur, you know, he's such a good businessman. You know what? I'll tell you one thing, guys, in the comments section, I you know, I got into trouble with friends of mine because I called Cyril Ramaphosa a loser. And they're like, well, he's a great entrepreneur. He's worth, you know, $4 billion US. How much are you worth? And I was like, well, you know, you do understand that Cyril Ramaphosa was just sort of a tenderpreneur guy that was in the right place at the right time and was pretty much handpicked by the ANC to be the cadre. And I think my theory behind the reason why he was picked was because he, first of all, he has this like really cool, sophisticated accent, you know, that fools all the dumb white people, you know. And second of all, he looks like a nice, cuddly teddy bear kind of guy, you know. He's like, oh, I just want to hug you, Uncle Cyril. And I think that's why the ANC chose him to be it. But yeah, I know he's an out and out piece of work, an out and out piece of work. And I just, you know, I got told that I'm being disrespectful and all that.
Yeah,
I really don't care.
I was told that I was out of line, and you know, you should respect the president, and he gave an amazing speech, and he's really trying his best, and I was having none of it.
Yeah, I remember when the lockdown started, there was all of those those like long Facebook posts about, look at the stress in his face. You can see he is a man with carrying the world on his shoulders.
The weight of his shoulders.
The weight of the world on his shoulders.
Spare me.
Yeah, and you can tell it.
And remember after that, remember when they extended the lockdown, the first one after 2 weeks, they extended it by another 2 or 3 weeks. Remember, within a couple of hours, I still think it was a staged thing, like a bit of an internal sort of propaganda thing by the ANC. They brought out that thing of Cyril, Captain South Africa. Remember? I looked at this, and there were some people that legitimately changed, that I follow on my Facebook profile, that changed their profile photos to Captain South Africa. Just because he made an amazing speech.
that's
It wasn't even, it was a horrible speech, man. It wasn't. Yeah, I remember I got into so much trouble. I went to start to basically went for major punch-ups. Anybody that had anything positive to say about Cyril and the speech and that sort of thing, I attacked them.
Yeah.
Unreservedly. And most of the people that I attacked were Christians. Yeah, Cyril's amazing. He made you shut down your churches.
Yeah, shut down your churches, shut down your businesses, and this was when everyone was saying this whole, when the whole what's it called, the that fund, what's it called, Solidarity Fund.
Oh yes, yeah.
When the whole Solidarity Fund came out, and all my friends who are like business owners and stuff were like, "Oh, amazing! Thank you, government. Thank you, Mr. President." Well, I sent like private messages to them. I said, "Guys, don't do this. Stop this. You're feeding the flames over here. Please don't do this." "Oh no, but how can you say that? Cyril Ramaphosa is out there to help us. It's doing a really good job and all of that." And I was like, "Guys, you're not going to see a cent of this. You're not going to see a cent of it." And then when you look in the laws and stuff, and it says you have to be 51% black owned or BEE whatever employed, whatever cuck they came up with, everyone was like, "Oh no, that's not true. That's all fake news and stuff." I want to say to those guys now, 5 months down the line, where's your money? Where's it? Where is it? You Oaks, now, you guys, you went out there and applauded the government, thanked them. Now your business is closed. Now what?
Yeah, it was lunacy.
Now what?
Yeah, the people were behaving like complete imbeciles. I mean, like people that I know with like high IQs, behaving like complete imbeciles, man. I don't know what it was. Some sort of like.
All granted, Russell. Granted, fair enough. Okay, this was the beginning of the lockdown was kind of a for a lot of people it could sort of throw their thinking out and all that sort of thing. But what disturbed me was that there are actual business owners out there. Now, you can't be a dumb oak and run a business. I'm sorry, you cannot. Okay, first of all, you have to be incredibly motivated. You have to be incredibly hardworking, and you have to be the best at what it is that you do. Especially here in South Africa, when the market is not that great and it's not that good and stuff, you have to be very innovative and very hardworking to run a business. And I applaud those people and stuff. But with those things comes the knowledge of, or the understanding of, safeguarding yourself against things that could destroy your business. How do you go about doing that? You go about understanding the people that are making the rules that your business falls under. You go and you understand who those people are. If you do not have the foresight or the mere understanding that the ANC is a communist organization that wants you dead, if you do not have that foresight, you are in a situation where that business that you had to close doors down on, that's very much.
Well, look, I mean, we talk about businesses, okay, and that's 100% true. But what makes it even worse are the churches. The churches have shown incredibly poor leadership. You can't complain about the church's leadership over the last 4 months in response to this crisis because there hasn't been any. All right.
No, you're 100% correct.
So you can't complain about the leadership.
Russell, before we get on to this topic, I just want to jump into the comments section over here quickly. So Right Reverend says, Right Reverend Rawhide says he's a con man. He absolutely is. They gave him shared. Right Reverend says he looks like a potato. Obviously referring to Cyril. Tian says Ramaphosa broke through fencing to Botswana back in 1994, got people killed for nothing.
It wasn't Botswana. It wasn't Botswana. It was Ciskei, Bishu. It was the Bishu massacre.
No more than a Tsotsi Witu Ati.
Yeah, I know that story. That it wasn't Botswana. That was Bishu. Ciskei Defence Force opened up on the protesters in 1992, I think, March 1992, around there.
He says no more than a Tsotsi with a tie. Yeah, I could.
Yeah, he is full on.
Absolutely. So Bill Hammond says you got it right about Cyril. The people who disagree with you don't like the truth. Yeah, that's exactly it. The truth a lot of the times hurts with these guys. But anyway, all reference you is TRC. I don't know what that means.
Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
No, I know what the TRC is, but I don't know what he says. All reference is that what he's talking about? What happened with Ramaphosa in 1994, 92?
Yeah, I know it's the Bishu massacre. I don't know of anything in Botswana or Bophuthatswana. I don't know about that, but I know about the Bishu one.
Okay.
But anyway, it's irrelevant. He's still an arsehole.
Yeah. So Tian says, anyone here podcast of Roman from Morning Shot talking to Anthea Jeffries? No. I haven't.
When was that?
I
that
love
was a while
Anthea
back. Was that
Jeffries.
recently?
I think that must have been quite an old one, where she was talking about her book, The People's War, right?
People's War.
Is that what you're referring to, Tibbs? It's a great book. If you haven't read it, mind-blowing book. I've actually met Anthea. She actually signed my copy of the People's War. I think she signed yours as well, Russell.
Yeah, we went to the book launch together.
Yeah, we went to the actual book launch where she launched her book, The People's War, and it's a fantastic book. If you really want not just a good idea of how the People's War works, but an actual full-blown thesis and analysis of the People's War, very detailed. Go and read that book. It'll blow your mind. It is absolutely amazing. Yeah, the NDR, National Democratic Revolution, is pretty, it does make us pretty nervous. And all of this stuff that we're seeing around us, this is the materialization of the People's War. Anyway, let's get back to the NDR, sorry. Let's get back to the churches. Yeah, the cowardice of the churches.
Well, look, I mean, the thing is, generally speaking, there was an appeal to Cyril and co. to open some of the churches and what have you, and they have given some sort of provisions, that not more than 50 at a time and all this sort of thing. But a lot of churches still haven't been able to actually meet with under those conditions. I think obviously they kind of threw admittedly they kind of threw the religious institutions and the churches and what have you a bone, so to speak, to try, and it was kind of like, see, we're not so bad, look what we've done type of thing. You know what I mean? It was kind of like an easy smooth over. See, we can win the churches over. Look what we did. And that was the tactic behind it. It was not for the churches. It was just a how can I put it? A veneering over, a whitewashing of. It's kind of to get. It was an easy point for them, so to speak. They wanted a little bit of goodwill, so they threw the churches a bit of a bone, not even a bone, a bit of a bone, and that was the tactic behind it. So they didn't want to agitate there too much. So they play this thing quite cleverly. You know what I mean? They do play this thing quite cleverly. At this stage, the church isn't a business, so it's not something that they can nationalize. So they're not really interested in destroying it completely because they can't destroy it completely. So let's throw them a bone anyway. That's how these guys operate. Okay. And, there's been not a word ever since they were given the 50, those sort of provisions. There have been no outspokenness by church leaders saying, no, it is not, the 50 rule is not good enough. It's still unreasonable when you consider you can still fill a casino, you can still fill a casino, you can fill a taxi, all this sort of thing. They're now. What happens is, now there are certain organizations that I know of that are petitioning or approaching or talking nicely to government and that sort of thing. And I said to one of our leaders on Sunday, I said, stop talking nicely to the government. They are demons. You do not negotiate with demons. All right. John MacArthur, I don't know, of a large church in California, basically told the governor of California, listen, we're all going to meet in our church. And we played along with you for a while because we thought it was necessary. Now we don't think it's necessary. And I think you are outside of your mandate as governor. And we're just going to carry on with church.
Yeah, again, that's the whole thing, Russell, is we all know at this point in time that all of these laws and all of these, all of this ridiculousness is all just a farce, and it's all just another step on the NDR or towards the NDR. So we all know that it's nonsense. So end it, okay? And then how do you end it? You do what you need to do. But there's a deeper thing behind this. Now, to our listeners and stuff, I mean, I'm sure you kind of picked this up now. Myself and Russell and Dylan are Christians, and this channel is a Christian channel. I see our view counts, people that are watching live, are going down now because we're starting to talk about Christian stuff. But anyway, the point behind this whole thing, there's a deeper meaning behind this whole thing. Okay. And why do you think you're not allowed to go and see your family? Why do you think there's a curfew? Why do you think churches are closed? Ask yourself that question. The only thing that's open now, you can go to a casino, you can go to a taxi, you can go to a mall, you can go to Pick and Pay, you can go to Checkers, where there's tons of people. There's no restrictions or anything in that sense. You are sure you have to go in and sanitize your hands when you walk in and wear a mask, but you can go there. If I wanted to catch COVID, I could go there and lick the counters or whatever it is and catch COVID. But why do you think specific things like churches, like family gatherings, like social gatherings and stuff are outlawed? I'll tell you why. Because a church is somewhere where someone goes for spiritual guidance, okay? A church is somewhere where someone goes to fellowship with their fellow Christians, okay? That, for a Christian, is incredibly important for that person's soul, for their way of life, for their frame of mind, for all of these things. Much like in a secular perspective, let's say, for example, it's important for you to see your family, because people that are surrounded by their families and people that they love and their friends and that sort of thing are people that are strong and are people that are positive and are people that have a good outlook on things. The ANC does not want you to have a good outlook or a positive outlook on this whole thing. Okay, they want you to feel broken. They want to destroy your will. How do they do that? They remove you from social interaction. How do you strengthen your will? You strengthen your will by socializing and spending time and fellowshipping with fellow human beings. That's the reason
Yeah,
why
look,
they want to do this.
and I mean, the thing is, what you've just said now is 100% the truth, but you won't find one single Christian leader, church leader, saying that to his congregation officially.
Because they're
You know,
scared
like
to
saying,
lose their church.
"Oh, well, you know, this is the big thing," and I actually hope one of the things I'm hoping for with the persecution to come is that every single Christian minister loses his ministry.
Yeah.
Because there is no ministry. You do not have a ministry.
No, it's Christ's ministry. It's not your ministry.
Exactly. You know, so I don't care if every single church gets closed. I don't care. We'll find some other way to gather and be part of everything.
The point is what these Christian leaders are not understanding, and it just like baffles my brain, is that if your church is here today, gone tomorrow, my faith remains. This is the point. Your church and your building or whatever it is has no bearing on my faith. So don't for 1 second think that your building can be here today, gone tomorrow. It can 100%, and it will be. But
Yeah,
what needs
it might actually be God's will for it to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's the church thing and stuff. Tien says they will they give emergency powers back? That's also something they're likely not to do. So, Tiens, I have an interesting theory on this idea. I believe that the ANC went hard on this lockdown, as hard as they could, so that they could, and for as long as they could, so that they could give back the most basic things like booze and cigarettes and everything, and everyone would be like so happy. Oh my gosh, guys, the government has just given us back booze and they've allowed us to smoke as well. You know, guys, they've allowed us, they've allowed us to do that. Oh, such amazing. I'm so happy. Yeah, let's all get drunk and smoke cigarettes. Okay. Then what's going to happen is underground, they've already scraped away this right, taken away that right, taken away this one, and then you go back to lockdown, and then you're living in what the ANC loves to say, the new normal. And you have the right to smoke and to buy cigarettes, but a lot of your other rights have been taken away. So that's my idea.
So
that's my theory on that.
Basically, it's the same thing with the take lots away, but give back to throw bones so that you can veneer over things.
Yeah, it's exactly that's the commie playbook 101. That's how it works.
You see, the thing is, most people don't understand they haven't studied Marxism. They don't understand what's going on. All right. And they completely like a deer in the headlights. They don't understand the plays, the language, the doctrines, that the ideologies behind everything. They just don't understand anything, and they don't know how to react. So they like freeze. They don't actually know what's going on. Unfortunately, that's sad but true. It's just one of those things, and but I mean, generally speaking, this whole COVID thing worldwide, not just in South Africa, but worldwide, has been used as opportunity to bring about a revolution.
Yeah, so Russell and myself said this ages ago. I mean, this was before lockdown. This was actually, gosh, I think we might have spoken about this, Russell, not on the channel, because at that stage we were still in the hiatus and stuff. My daughter was a few weeks old, but we spoke. I just think this might have been in the sort of soft lockdown when they did the whole thing, no social gatherings of over 100 people and that kind of thing. I think it was then. Remember when we said, has China now managed to export authoritarianism via a virus? And
yes,
and that's basically what they've managed to do. This whole thing is just one broad thing that now they have, implemented authoritarianism worldwide. Okay, now there's one thing or two things that control people, humans, more than anything in this world, and that's these two things. The first one is sex. Okay, sex we know is almost uncontrollable. Okay, the second thing is fear. Okay, fear is something that controls people unimaginably. Okay, when you're afraid of something, you're easy to control. So that's where this whole COVID story comes in, and there are legitimately still people out there that are shaking in their boots at this COVID story, scared, terrified, petrified, won't even leave their house, kind of thing. Okay, and there's the what they called what. And I saw a video earlier on of Paul Joseph Watson Russell where he says the COVID Karens, and it's like these women walking with like tape measures to like make sure that you're far enough away from them, and all this insanity. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that. What's tense? I think what they're planning is. I think what they're planning is making bad now. When we riot and they have an excuse for martial law, then we've got problems. I would say yes, Tiens. Then again, I mean, have you seen the South African army? Oh, it's it's an utter joke. I mean, I'm pretty sure the militia could take them. Just saying, hey, Russell, the militia.
Yeah, the militia.
No, I mean, look, I don't know much about the martial law story. I don't know. Look, the riots and stuff. What good do riots really do? I mean, we need to. This is something. If you read the People's War book, it's not the rioters that won that war. It's the people that implemented it and the people that were pulling the strings in the back that did it. Okay, so what a People's War actually does is it uses people as ammunition. So like in a war, you have a rifle or whatever, and that rifle has a certain caliber of bullet or whatever that it uses. The People's War have specific calibers for people. So a so-called freedom fighter is a certain caliber, which is generally a lower caliber. A woman has a higher caliber, and the one that has the highest caliber is a child. Now, when I say caliber, I mean that it's going to create the most damage. And if a so-called freedom fighter is killed in the People's War, it's a minor issue. If a woman is killed in the People's War, bigger issue. If a child is killed in the People's War, massive media outrage, all these kind of things, and that's how they won that war. So it wasn't necessarily the children and the women that were killed in these things that were rioting and stuff that were the actual, the people that determined who was going to win this thing. It was the people that were setting those situations up and putting those soldiers into position that actually won the People's War for the ANC. So yeah, it's propaganda through and through. It's outright propaganda. That's how Vietnam won their war. That's how the ANC got power. The ANC was not democratically elected. They were literally the only people or the only party that was left, and that's how they won it. Johan says West Beach militia is already underway. Yes, Johan van Blomenstein. You got your thank you for the that's some of your lovely wine over here. Says same as the national as what the National Party did when the country became ungovernable. They instituted a state emergency, which sets the Constitution aside. Russell maybe knows something about that, but yeah, it's propaganda.
Well, yeah. Well, look, I mean, the thing is, in South Africa, it's quite strange that there's more powers under this state of disaster in South Africa than there are actually under state of emergency. Quite bizarre.
Yeah, and you know what? I got into a conversation with a guy about earlier in the lockdown when Cyril deployed 74,000, I think, troops. It was. And I mean, you know, that's the largest deployment of troops pretty much in the history of South Africa. And it's deployed against their own citizens. It's just strange that a government would deploy the largest amount of troops against their own citizens. And yeah, that's and I got into a conversation with a guy, and he's like, oh, you don't respect the army and stuff. You know, I have friends and stuff that are in the army and all that. And I'm like, no. Okay, this has nothing to do with your friends and your family or whatever it is in the army and stuff. I've got a problem with deploying the largest force ever deployed in South African history against its own citizens. That's what I have a problem with, and so should you. And that's
in what universe is that normal? But as it turns out, the reason why they wanted to deploy that is because they wanted to shift money in the budget to the underfunded defense force. So they did this so that they could get money to the defense force.
Yeah, the underfunded bunch of fat mamas, and you know, they needed to buy more KFC. I think they wanted to open like an actual KFC that serves free KFC on every army barracks or whatever it is, so that folks can get fatter and fatter as they go along. But anyway, it's like I said, Tiens, have you seen the South African army? It's an absolute bloody joke. But anyway, Johan says, I can see the wines talking. Good vibes. Yeah, it's a Friday night, guys. I'm having some wine. Cut me some slack. So Citizen Guardian says, hey, you guys, hey, I watched a bit of the show with Chris, Citizen Guardian. Interesting thing, Russell actually suggested talking about these sort of things, the stuff that you're into, sort of prepping and all of that. And I said to Russell, look, bro, I can build stuff, I can fish, I can camp, I can do whatever, I can do all of that stuff, but I don't know anything about how to make yourself sort of self-sustaining and all of that. But I'd be interested to know, Citizen Guardian, if you'd be interested in coming on the show to chat with us about that. Just let us know in the comments section, and I'd be interested to know if you'd be interested in coming on the show. I watched a little bit of it. I didn't get a chance. This week was a little bit hectic, but I think I watched about 15-20 minutes of your chat with Chris. I think your name's Dabble. Dabble. It's an interesting name. And I think you're in the Eastern Cape, right? If you're in the Eastern Cape, then you're our brother, bro. You know. Myself and Russell are also from the Eastern Cape. So Tian said, agreed, used to be illegal to use army in our own borders. I don't know if that's true, but sounds pretty true. Catering and supplies for the army. There we go. You got it. Yeah, army is a disgrace. There we go. Citizen Guardian said, sure, I'd be happy to. Trying to normalize prep. Yeah, that is actually very true. Hey? I think that a lot of people, especially in the city, are pretty unprepared for these sort of things, you know, to understand these things. Yep. Eastern Cape. There we go. Citizen Guardian,
Yeah.
East Cape hardcore, my bro.
Okay. Well, listen, how much more have we got?
Yeah,
How
wait,
much more have we got to discuss? We must wrap up, man.
Wait. I just want to put over here. I don't know how we. I think I'm going to find you on Facebook, Citizen Guardian. Dabble something. I think Dabble Smith, I think is your name. I'll find you on Facebook and I'll message you, and then you can come on our show. We'll finish up in just a sec, Russell. Make sure you pay them, or they will go on strike. We'd never have been allowed in our time in the old SADF. What's with the good vibes thing? What is that? Joe did that as well. What is that? I don't know that. Is that something? I don't know. Anyway. Russ, anything else that you want to chat about?
No, I'm done. I'm all chatted up now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple of laughs and what have you, but yeah, it's good.
Cool. Citizen Guardian, I will email you on you say your email address is on your channel. Thanks, buddy. I will email you for sure. Anyway, it's an emoticon. I see. That's what the good vibes is. Obviously like a emote icon or whatever, but it's coming through strangely. Anyway, oh yeah, we forgot to mention, I wanted to talk about Lebanon, but we'll have to save that for another thing. Go out with a bang like Lebanon. Yeah, that was heavy. That was really, really heavy. Some hectic footage. We might have to do a stream sometime about that.
Oaks store ammonium nitrate in a built-up area like that. It just seems a bit strange.
Very strange. Very, very strange. Oaks are rioting now about it. Apparently, they arrested 16 so-called suspects in connection with it. I don't know what's going on over there. But anyway, we'll chat about that another time. Anyway, thank you so much to our listeners for listening. I know that you guys were at Chris's show, or his show with Steve. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Stay reactionary out there, because as always,
God wills it.
God wills it.
God wills it.